All right, now let's look at a really prominent instrumental genre from the Baroque period, and that is the suite. A suite is a set of pieces. Remember, we talked about this when we did our little quick overview of genres, thinking of it like a set of furniture. Got a couch, some end tables, a coffee table, all those things together make a suite of furniture. So in a suite for music in the Baroque period, the pieces of our furniture set would be dance movements. So the titles are almost all the names of some sort of dance that was well known during the period of time. Not all of them, however, and we'll look at that in just a minute. So basically we have this set of pieces that all use these little dance movements, and they're generally all in the same key. So you think, well, isn't that going to get kind of old after a while if we do several of these movements in the same key? Well, how do we avoid that kind of repetitiveness? We change the tempo of the movements, we change the meters, so we create our variety through that and through the different kinds of dance movements that we're talking about. So as you may remember, these are not dances that are intended to be danced to. So what the composer does is take a dance form that people are familiar with and uses the standard meter, standard rhythmic patterns, the things that would make it recognizable as that dance, and makes it a piece for listening instead of for dancing. The titles of the movements always say suite in something or another, and sometimes they will say French suite or German suite or Italian suite, which gives you an idea that they're sort of focusing on those particular kinds of dances. So each of the movements within the suite tends to be A-B form, so you'll hear repetitions, so you'll be able to hear a lot of that. The one that we're going to listen to today is by Johann Sebastian Bach, and this is his suite in E minor, and the BWV number is 996, so that tells us this is fairly late in his output. Bach wrote thousands of pieces. It's performed for us on harpsichords, which is the instrument that is most associated with the Baroque period, so I wanted you to have a chance to really listen to harpsichord sort of an extended period of time. The man who's playing the harpsichord is actually dressed in period costume, so you sort of get the sense that you would actually be there in the time of Bach, except that he wears glasses, and that would have been sort of unusual in Bach's time to have that. So as you listen to the harpsichord part of it, you may also notice that when he changes from one movement to the next, you'll see him doing things, pulling things on the harpsichord. He's changing the stops, and the sound is going to change a little bit each time, so you might keep an eye out for that as we go. You'll also notice that this is very, very ornamented music. I was actually reading through the score last night just to sort of look at it, and it has just got scribbly little thingies, like every other note it seems like there's some sort of ornament that Bach wanted you to put in there. So you'll see that there's a lot of very busy kind of sound going on. As you listen, I'm going to tell you about each movement before you hear it, but don't be concerned if you really have a hard time finding the beat of these pieces, because there are so many notes going on sometimes that it's really difficult to find the beat. So I'm going to tell you what the beat pattern is, and you can just trust me, because even I had a hard time following them with all the ornamentation and what's going on in the piece. So this particular suite has 7 movements. Lasts about 15 minutes, so you can tell that each movement's not particularly long. The first movement is called the Preludio, or the Prelude. So this is not a dance. This would be a movement that it just sort of introduces the piece, gets us in the key of E minor, which is the key of our suite, and it's intended to sound sort of improvisational. So it'll be, you just might imagine somebody who just sat down at the harpsichord and decided he would just play around a little while in the key of E minor. So go now and watch the Preludio from this suite. All right, so now we've had our introduction. We know what key we're in. We have sort of set the mood for this set of pieces. Our next movement is an Allemande. Allemande is the French word for German. The French word for German, got that? So this is a German dance, and is in duple meter, and it's usually at a moderate sort of tempo. So as you listen, see if you can find that duple meter. And again, listening for all the sorts of Baroque traits that we've been talking about. All right, our next movement is called a courant. Courant is a word that means running, and it doesn't mean that the music is going to be running. The dance itself was kind of a running dance where you sort of skipped around the room. It's in a triple meter, and you might just see if you can imagine people doing a running, skipping sort of dance to this triple meter courant. Our next movement is a Sarabande, Sarabande is a Spanish dance, and it's in triple meter. It does have a rhythm that is particular to it that you will hear in it, but you'll have to listen a little bit for it. The sort of standard rhythm for the Sarabande is dum, 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 dum. So listen for that particular rhythmic pattern as you listen to this Sarabande. All right, so now we've come out of this fairly stately Sarabande, so we need some contrast. The next movement is a bourrée, which is a French dance that is in duple meter and is fairly fast. So now you've got your contrast from the dignified Sarabande to the more lively bourrée. All right, now Bach's going to take us out in a flurry. The last movement of this suite is a gigue, which is the French form of the word jig, which is an English or an Irish dance. So that's something you might be familiar with. It's typically in compound meter, so you get that that sort of rhythmic pattern that's associated with the gigue. Very lively, upbeat, good way to finish off our very first Baroque suite.